Go.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. This is Nadine Jansen with my interview with a person from a foreign country. Hello.
Hello,
What is your name?
my name is Barbara Lynch.
And what country are you from?
I'm from Guyana, a small country in South America.
Why did you move to Guyana?
I moved to Guyana because
Why did you move to America from Guyana? Sorry.
I moved to America because my parents, they kind of wanted better education, and I just came along because I couldn't stay there by myself.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 7 years old.
Do you remember anything about the process from moving from Guyana to America?
I don't really remember because I was so young, but my parents, they handled the paperwork.
So for the most part, you just kind of came along and your parents took care of the process and the visas and the citizenship and such?
Yeah, and I don't remember any of that because I was so young.
Okay, well, from what you do remember, was the transition from coming to America from Guyana, was that difficult for you? What do you feel about that?
Well, I was very young, so I don't really remember much, but from what I remember, the seasons of school, they took accustomed to getting used to.
What do you mean by that? What can you tell me about the seasons or the terms of schooling in America as compared to Guyana?
Well, the accents, the manners, the food, Guyana, we have like 3 terms. And
3 school terms?
Yeah, 3
Okay.
school terms. And Christmas break in America is fall break in Guyana.
So it took some getting used to having 4 terms here in school from having 3 terms there in Guyana.
Yes.
Okay, what can you tell me about like the accents? Did you have a hard time understanding your teachers or your neighbors or other people you came into contact with once you came to America?
No, not really.
What about the language? Did you speak a different language in Guyana? Did you have to learn a new language in school when you came to America?
No, not really, because in Guyana, we spoke English. There was a little language barrier. My accent actually wore off with time because I was so young. I picked up an American accent.
I see. What about like slang and certain terminology that we might use here in America as compared to what you used in Guyana? Because I know you said that y'all spoke English in Guyana, but slang doesn't really necessarily come with countries.
Yeah, well, in Guyana, the slang was pretty much the same, but it took getting a little used to because it was just a little different. There were some words that we didn't have in Guyana.
Do you have any examples of that?
What up, bruh? It was a little different.
So y'all didn't call each other bro. Did y'all use the term "what's up" at all in Guyana?
Yeah, we did. What's up?
Okay.
Not bro or anything like that.
Nothing like that. Okay.
No.
So back to school. What can you tell me about like being in like the classroom setting? You okay?
Yes.
What can you tell me about the classroom setting and like teacher styles per se?
Oh, it was pretty much the same. Lectures in Guyana were called talk and chalk.
You said talk and chalk.
Yes, talk and chalk.
What do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean?
Well, talking and writing on a chalkboard.
Oh, so what we call lecturing here, y'all call talk and chalk in Guyana, because they would just talk and write on the chalkboard.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's just funny to me because talk and chalk, they rhyme.
Yeah, I know. And it's hard to explain it to people. They don't really understand when I first.
But it's basically the same as just being in classroom and lecture too. So it wasn't that different being in school in Guyana as compared to being in school here, because in America, teachers basically do the same thing, write on the board and talk while they're writing, lecture per se.
They have a little bit more, they had whiteboards here, so that was a little different.
That was little, were you
Erase.
seeing whiteboards and stuff like that?
Like just erased.
Oh. And then Guyana, it was more chalk and
Chalk and
dusty.
yeah.
When you So would you say that overall about schools in America? Did you see more like technology per se?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, we didn't have many computers at my school.
Oh, you didn't have computers at your school?
Not many.
Not many. Did you ever get to use computers at your school?
From what I remember, maybe once or twice.
Oh, okay. So you didn't necessarily have like computer class or
No.
get to explore Word documents or the internet.
No.
Were you exposed to that more in American schools? Have you taken a computer course?
Yes,
in
I have.
America? That's interesting.
I've taken many.
Many.
Yes.
As opposed to what you wouldn't. Do you know if you would have stayed in Guyana, would you have taken so many computer courses?
I mean, I have cousins that
Mhm.
still live there, and they know how to use the basic things on a computer.
Would you say that you know more than they do as far as
Yes.
technology wise?
Yes.
That's interesting. And so I think it's pretty safe to draw the conclusion that technology is more emphasized in
Yes.
America as opposed to Guyana.
Yes.
For money reasons or whatever per se it is. So, okay, back to like your culture and stuff. Let's talk about food. Stuff like that. What can you tell me about the types of food y'all cook, what you drank, how you prepared it, on what occasions you would eat certain types of meals? What do you think about that?
Well, I still cook at home.
Food that you cooked in Guyana?
That I cooked in Guyana. I used to cook with my grandmother and my mother, because I was so young. We make foods like curry chicken. I've seen it in America,
What do you?
but it's not the same.
I was about to ask you about that. So, you can tell a difference between
a significant difference.
Guyanese curry chicken and the Americanized curry chicken.
Yes,
What do you prefer?
Guyanese curry
Interesting.
chicken. Yes.
But please continue about other types of food you were exposed to.
Well, we have soro.
Soda?
Soro.
What's that?
It's a strong tea that we have in Guyana.
What about the flavor? Anything special about it?
It tastes different from, let's say Lipton tea, tea bags. It has more of a bitter taste to it, but
So y'all don't necessarily sweeten this tea?
no.
Oh. Did you like it as a child?
When I was sick, it helped me feel better, so
Oh, so it's sort of like a medication thing.
a remedy,
Oh, interesting.
I don't think that the doctor would prescribe it, but
One of those home remedies,
Yes, a home
like
remedy.
chicken noodle soup or
yes,
something like that.
Yes.
Any other types of food or things like that?
We
that you
used
ate?
to cook codfish cakes.
Codfish cakes.
Yes.
Is that just, what is that? Is that fried?
It's a patty of fried fish.
Like a fish patty. Like a fish sandwich patty.
Yes, but still different.
So, would you compare it to like, have you seen like fried patties or frozen fish here in America? Would you compare it to that?
Like store-bought,
Yeah, like something like that.
it's completely different. The texture, the taste, the seasoning, completely different from American codfish.
You sound so passionate when you talk about your country's food.
I mean, because it's more rich than American food.
Ah, interesting. So, again, you prefer
Guyanese
to American.
food.
Do you find that with a lot of the food you have eaten since being in America? Do you miss your home food, even though you were only 7 when you left? Would you prefer cooking at home?
I go back occasionally, and
How many times have you been back, by the way?
I've been back I'm 20 now. I've been back about 15 times.
Oh, so you go back on some occasions more
Every
than once
year,
a
yeah.
year. Oh, interesting. Do you go back for like holidays? To deviate from the food conversation for 1 second, do you go back for like holidays or birthdays or special occasions like that?
I go back summer breaks
Mm.
sometimes, and sometimes I'll go back for my grandmother's birthday because her birthday is very special to me.
That's nice. I remember you said you used to cook with her. I'm sure, being the Guyanese treasure Carnival, I know you're aware with it.
Yes.
The big festival downtown and the colors and the music.
Yes.
Have you ever been back for Carnival?
I have. I've been there about 4 times.
You enjoy it, don't
I
you?
do. I do.
Sure. Okay.
I wish they had, events like that in America.
So you don't find events like, do you find Carnival equivalent to per se the fair or the circus in America? Same
to
equivalence?
a certain extent.
Which would you say is more festive, more showing of that country's culture?
I would say Carnival.
You feel like that?
Yeah, there's just so much going on.
Between the music and the
And
food,
the culture,
the
and
colors,
everything.
I've seen pictures of it, and I've seen the costumes. They're just incredibly festive.
I mean, the closest thing I would say would be like something like Mardi Gras.
So that's what you would compare Carnival to.
Yes.
Mardi Gras is very festive, per
Yes.
se, here in America, down south. It's very colorful,
Yes.
very vulgar in some senses.
Yes.
I've seen some pictures of Carnival, and I've seen some rather explicit images in some cases.
Yes.
But that's nice. That's nice. But back to food. Any more particular examples you'd like to throw out there?
No, not really.
So you say that pretty much sums up the food. Do you cook? Have you transitioned into American food?
I can cook, like, fried chicken and pizza. I know how to make pizza.
Did you eat pizza in Guyana?
Oh, no.
You didn't? Was pizza in Guyana?
I believe there were some places that had pizza.
But it wasn't as publicized, to say, as...
No, as it is in America. I mean, pizza is an American dish.
True.
So I feel like, how we have curry chicken in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's not everywhere. And in Guyana, pizza is not everywhere.
So, just to give some sort of a scaling, would you say that, like, to the magnitude and the food spectrum that pizza is held in America is curry chicken and codfish cake, and so the equivalent of, like, beer and French fries and
Yes.
pizza here in America? So those are the very popular foods.
Yes.
So, yeah, you were, as a child, you were exposed to some of the most dominant features of Guyanese culture.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yes.
Now let's talk about like more of the social aspect, if you don't mind.
Okay.
What can you tell me about like interactions per se, like conversations, gestures, greetings, stuff like that?
Well, people, they talk really close together and loud. And in Guyana, a conversation would sound a little bit like an argument to an American.
What do you mean by?
So loud?
Okay, so I'm gonna get to the volume thing you just mentioned in a second. I'm gonna go back real quick and touch on what you said about like proximity. What do you mean by really close together?
I mean,
Like as close as we are now?
a little bit closer.
Just during a regular conversation?
Yes.
And that didn't come off as like violent or offensive to the people in conversation?
No, people get in your face when they talk, but it's not offensive.
So they get really close, and
Yeah.
family even?
Family even.
And strangers as well, just during a regular conversation?
Yes, and families tend to hug more in the U.S. than in Guyana.
So you've noticed that?
Yes.
Does your family hug more now that they're in America as compared to as they did when they were in Guyana?
No.
They still hold that custom,
Yes.
that tradition per se of, it's not, so it's hugging isn't really used as a sort of affectionate thing?
No, I mean, it is, but not as often as Americans hug.
It's like on rare occasions, like.
Yes, like.
So like when you would, for instance, as you said, how often you visit.
Yes.
When you visit, you get
A
hugs.
hug, yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Back to the volume thing, because I found that really interesting. So, a conversation, you said a conversation in Guyana would seem like an argument here?
Yes.
So the people would yell at each other,
Yes.
like, out of anger?
No, not out of anger, just wanting to get their point across or wanting the other person to understand.
So they speak loudly like this.
Yes, it's kind of like that, and people think that we're arguing with each other, but
we're not.
No,
We're just
not.
having a conversation.
Exactly.
Did that take
Yes.
you back to Guyana
Yes,
a little
it
bit,
did.
that conversation? I thought you like that.
Thank
Thank you. No problem. That's interesting. That's really interesting. So real quick, last thing about the volume. When people are having an argument, do they get even louder than in regular conversation? Would you say? Have you seen that many arguments, that many confrontations, and noticed any volume change?
I don't feel like the volume gets louder. If it does get louder,
It's kind of hard to
noticeable.
tell. Right.
Yes.